peeps, it's Ray, and today I have some tea. Well, actually coffee, but let's pretend and get onto this video. So, before this pandemic arrived and I actually still had a job that I could go to, I work in fast food. And I actually had a shift 3 days before the lockdown happened in the UK, and 2 days before I found out my job was actually closing down for a while. And I generally did not expect it to go the way that it did, and I have a lot to say about it. My expectation going to work at 2:30 that day was that it would be deserted. You know, kind of like apocalypse films where there's just no one around ever. I thought it would be like that, like there'd be no cars, there'd be no people besides the workers who have to be there. But oh no, it was so different than what I expected. I walked in and there was people there, and not just like workers, like social workers that I thought would be there, or NHS staff who were there for like free hot drinks, which, you know what, you've earned it. But literal kids and the elderly ordering food. And not only that, but the kiosks were still working, like you could still go up and use them, you could still go to the staff and talk to them. I thought it all happened through an app on the phone, so you didn't have to have any contact with people. But no, people were using the kiosks, and it was really funny to see someone step away and then instantly the workers were spraying it down and cleansing it all. It just seemed odd that they were still even on in general, so I'm glad they were actually keeping them clean. And it was even worse for me because I was put in 3 places, all of which had maximum contact with customers. And the first place I was put into was the drive-thru, and I generally thought the drive-thru would be less busy than usual because I thought people would actually stay at home and maybe order food in. But the drive-thru was constantly busy. There was just non-stop people coming in, and that's not the usual at all. Usually we have non-stop people and then a nice break, and then non-stop and a break. But there was no breaks. There was nothing. It was just constant streams of people. And I felt so awkward with the precautions that we had in place because we were doing contactless and it was very much encouraged to do contactless. But anytime the contactless doesn't work, which if you go through drive-thrus, they often don't for some reason. So people would come through, try and do contactless, wouldn't work. I'd have to hand them the thing over. And literally as they had it, I got this cloth and started spraying it. And as soon as they handed it me back, I grabbed it and just kind of wiped it all over, like sanitized it all. And I felt kind of bad because they just kind of looked at me and I'm like, I'm doing this for everyone. You don't just look dirty, don't worry.
You dirty pig.
And another thing that was really odd, despite all these precautions, is we were still taking money. And money in general isn't the most hygienic thing ever, but during a pandemic, it's even worse. So literally any time someone handed me money, I would either sanitize my hands afterwards or go and wash them. But my hands were getting so dry, and I'd like sanitize them, and then the next person would give me money, so I'd have to do it all over again, then have to go and wash my hands again. And it was just a mess. Also, I didn't get given sanitizer. I bought my own from home, so I was lucky to even have some. And it was just, yeah, not the funnest thing in the world, especially when I was trying my hardest not to touch the customers or have minimal contact even when they were handing me money over. And then this woman, I held out my hand so she could drop the coins in or, you know, slightly press them into my hand, but she goes, like, just full-on contact with my skin, just shoved them into my hand. I was like, okay, I definitely am gonna go wash my hands after this transaction. Sanitizer, I don't trust it at that point because you've literally shoved your hand into me and I don't want to get the virus. I think the funniest part of the job was when I moved from taking money in the drive-thru and went over to actually presenting the food. So basically you get the bag and you pass it over like through the window to the driver basically. And we had to ask if they wanted dips and then put the dips in the bag. So I didn't realise this at first, and when I passed the bag over to the customers, they then asked for dips. And I was like, do I just get another bag and put the dips in there? That seems wasteful, but also at this moment in time, if that's the option compared to actually touching the person, I'll take it. No offence to people, but right now I'm very cautious. But the manager was just like, just tell him to hold his hand out and just drop it in. So I just had to be like, hold your hand out like this please, and I just dropped the dips right into his hand, and that was a fun experience. I've never done that. Apparently, I'm very good at not touching people during presenting. Not so much on till, because people just don't care. Funny thing did happen on presenting, which I was kind of shocked about, because we either had people that really took it serious, but then there's people like this. Basically, he asked for some dip, and I was just about to pass him the bag, but I hadn't quite got it for him to grab it. So I pulled it back before he could grab it to put the dips in the bag. And as I did this and handed it him back, he started to fake cough. Why? Why? He seemed like he was kind of fussed about the precautions and the fact that I couldn't just hand him dip for some reason. So he had to go the extra mile to pretend he had the virus, I guess, to freak me out, which wasn't nice. Like, I'm there for 9 hours, mate. I can't just drive off afterwards. I've got to deal with all these people. After those 9 hours, I came back home with dry hands, and I was the most tired from this shift. Like, I probably used like half a bottle of sanitizer, and my hands were just not feeling good at all. And just my entire mental state, I think from the stress of having to deal with customers and having to be careful about touching them and having to be careful about everything, really got to me. Despite the precautions, it was still quite dangerous, and I feel like if they would have just left it open for delivery, it might have been a bit better and just been takeout. Yeah, I'm kind of glad work's stopped for a little bit, although I am going to miss their food a lot. If you are going out and you see people in retail, just don't be a dick about it. You know, just go in, get your food, do what you usually would do, but just take a bit more precaution, and just realise that this can be dangerous for a lot of people, and a lot of people are worried, but they still have to go to work because they're a key worker and they need the money. Don't be the person that fake coughs, is what I'm trying to say, and don't be the person who will physically shove money into your hand. At least be a little bit more careful, or if you can, use card. Card is always better in these situations. But this is my 3rd day in isolation now. I've actually managed to get a lot of work done, although I'm not very good at realising what time it is. Like the other day, I worked from like 1 till 3 in bed, got up, showered and changed, and went downstairs at 4 in the afternoon. So time isn't my friend at the moment. Time is a construct that I do not know. But besides that, I am really glad to be out of work for a bit. I'm glad that I can just relax in my house, and if anyone else is still working now, just well done. Like, obviously you're going to be doing a lot, especially if you work in retail. You're really needed at the moment. So don't let it get you down. Be careful. Take care. Rach Kane out.